All right, now this reading takes us a little bit deeper into one of the core analytical tools of regional economics, input-output analysis. I really want to put effort on how this is one of the most important tools. So this reading, or I'm sorry, the last reading kind of sets us up with the conceptual foundation for these IO analysis. This reading here kind of knocks it down with how those models are built and interpreted in practice. So IO analysis connects the structure of an economy to its interdependencies, all the little linkages between the different industries, seeing how regions and industries are connected to one another. So at its core, input-output analysis is about that interdependence. Every industry in a region depends on others for input, and those linkages create rippling effects throughout the economy. So a shock to one sector, say new demand for a manufactured good that's produced in the region, doesn't just stop there. It affects suppliers, transporters, retailers, household income, all these different things that are being impacted by this one specific change. Now, sometimes policymakers like to overrate the effect. Sometimes people get too myopic and they don't think about all the other great things that can happen from, say, bringing in a new business. So whether it's overrating or underrating the effects, IO analysis is really important to give us an estimate to go off of to see how important this change will be. So I don't want to get too much into the history of the IO model in this discussion. There is some in pretty much all these readings to kind of give you the basics of where it comes from. Once you read the basics once, or like the history once, you don't have to, like memorize and go through in super heavy detail. But it is important that you know it at some point so you can see where these ideas are coming from and understand the shortcomings and the assumptions that we have to make to do these models. Now, the backbone of any input-output system is the transaction tables, that matrix that shows how much each industry buys and sells to each other industry. This is really important. It's something we talked about on the last one. We also talked about multipliers in the last lecture. There's a lot of overlap between these readings. I didn't want to jam you down with too many, but there are just certain things in each of these readings that stick out that's worthwhile to go through. Now, this author also pushes us to think beyond the boundaries of one region. So regions trade with one another. They import inputs and export outputs to each other and from each other. That means that some effects leak out of the region while others flow in from neighboring areas. So I don't think you really need to read about the interregional IO models. That's kind of a step beyond what we're doing here, but I do want to kind of touch on this idea and plan in your mind that this is also something we can think about, that we can build upon the basic IO analysis that we're going to be working with in this module to make it more and more comprehensive. But for the time being, well, for this class, we are only going to focus on the basic IO analysis model, focusing on that one region and all the different interconnected pathways between those industries.